What if a single pill could make you smarter, faster, and unstoppable? Imagine unlocking 100% of your brain, every skill, every memory, every idea, all at once. But what if that power came with a deadly price? Meet Eddie Morra, a struggling writer stuck in a rut. His life? A total mess. No motivation, no focus, and definitely no plan. His ex, Lindsay, shows up, calling him out for ghosting her and wasting his potential. She's done waiting for Eddie to get his act together. Eddie promises he's trying, but Lindsay isn't buying it. After their tense talk, Eddie is seen roaming the streets, restless and searching for something to spark his life back to motion. Then, out of nowhere, an old friend appears and offers him a drink. Eddie hesitates. He's been trying to be more responsible, but that resolve quickly fades. The scene cuts to them sitting at a bar. At the bar, Eddie's old friend asks how life is going and about the progress on his new book. Eddie admits it's all the same, he hasn't started a single word. Then, his friend pulls out a pill, saying it'll help him with his writing. Eddie is skeptical, thinking it's just some drug, and tries to brush it off. But his friend insists, just give it a try. Suddenly, the friend's phone rings. In urgency, he has to leave, but not before leaving a card with Eddie and wishing him good luck. While his way back home, he eats the pill thinking, what worse can it do? As Eddie heads upstairs to his tiny apartment, he runs into his landlord's daughter, the one who always argues with him about the rent money. Like clockwork, she starts in again, warning that if he doesn't pay up soon, he could be out on the street. But then, it hits. The pill kicks in. Eddie's senses sharpen. His mind unlocks. Suddenly, he's seeing everything, her clothes, her books, her tone, analyzing it all in real time. He doesn't just react. He calculates. Not only does he defuse the argument, but he flips the entire conversation. Noticing a law textbook in her bag, he steers the talk toward her studies, impresses her with insight, and speaks with charm and confidence like never before. She's caught off guard, and then drawn in. He's even seen with her in bed, a guy who couldn't pay rent now talking his way into anything. Now back in his messy apartment, Eddie rushes in after spending the moment with the landlord's daughter. The place is a disaster, but not for long. The first thing he does? Clean. Everything. For the first time in who knows how long, Eddie's focused, energized, and clear. He realizes he can't waste this moment, not with his brain firing at full power. So he sits down and starts writing. And it pours out of him. The book that had been stuck in his head for months suddenly begins to flow effortlessly. Every sentence sharp, every idea fully formed. The effects of the pill are real, and they're delivering results he never imagined. In the next scene, Eddie wakes up, but something's different. The clarity is gone. The razor-sharp focus? Faded. The world that once felt electric now feels dull and heavy again. The pill's effects have worn off. He's back to his normal self, sluggish, scattered, and staring at the chaos around him. Eddie is next seen in an office, handing his finished book to a skeptical-looking editor. She clearly doesn't expect much, but Eddie tells her to read just the first 3 pages. If it doesn't hook her, he'll pay for her time. Then, he walks out. Back at his apartment, he checks his voicemail, and there it is. She loved it. She's talking publishing, money, it's happening. Eddie's stunned, and for the first time, hopeful. But he knows exactly what made it happen. He wants more of the pill. He heads to the address on the card his friend gave him. At first, the friend refuses to open the door. When he finally does, he's bruised and bloodied, clearly in trouble. Eddie asks what happened and who did this, but his friend says he wouldn't want to know. Eddie pushes to know what the pill really is. The friend finally admits it's an underground, experimental drug. Not approved, not legal. Lab tested, off the books. But Eddie doesn't care. He demands more. Now the friend wants to feel in control. He tells Eddie to bring him breakfast and pick up his suit from the cleaners before handing over more pills. Frustrated but desperate, Eddie agrees. He grabs the food, collects the clothes, and returns. But this time, the apartment is trashed and his friend is dead. Shot. Eddie freezes. Panicking. He's about to call the police, but something stops him. He begins searching the apartment, tearing through drawers and cabinets. Then, he checks the kitchen griller. Inside, he finds a bag full of pills and a stash of cash. Then, a knock at the door. It's the police. At the station, Eddie is questioned about the shooting and who called him to the scene. With no solid evidence against him, Eddie is released. Back at his apartment, he opens the bag. Pills. Money. Power. He takes another pill. Swallows it. And just like that, he's back. With a stash of pills and cash in hand, Eddie's world transforms overnight. He gets a fresh new look, clean cut, sharp suit, total confidence. He's unrecognizable from the man he was just days ago. Fueled by the pill, he finishes writing his entire book in just a couple of days. Then he moves on fast. In just 3 days, he learns to play world-class piano, stunning crowds like he's been doing it for years. Next stop, the casino. Eddie walks in calm, calculated, and walks out a winner. He's sharper, faster, and more focused than ever. He dives into the stock market, analyzing trends and numbers with superhuman precision. Deals that would take others weeks, he makes in minutes. But soon, he realizes, he needs serious capital to play at the top. His own cash isn't enough, not for the level he's aiming for. He knows bank won't give loan to people like him. But Eddie finds a way. One old guy working at a cafe gives him a connection, someone who can get him access to the kind of capital the banks won't touch. The old guy points across the cafe, the lender is already there, sitting alone. Eddie walks over and takes a seat. He asks for a $100,000 loan, no small amount. The man hesitates. He's heard this story before, big dreams, big smarts, but no guarantees. He tells Eddie that the payback is fixed, but the risk of not paying? Even higher. A lot of people don't return the money, he explains. And when that happens, things turn ugly. Sometimes, deadly. Eddie keeps his cool. Says the deal is clean. The lender agrees, but on his terms. They arrange one more meetup, this time in a quiet city park. The man hands Eddie a plain paper bag full of cash. No contracts. Just consequences. Before walking away, he reminds Eddie, miss a payment, and there won't be a second warning. Eddie doesn't waste a second. He dives headfirst into the stock market, high risk, high return. And with NZT in his system, he's always 10 steps ahead. He turns that $100,000 into $2.3 million in just 10 days. Every trade lands perfectly. Every move is calculated. People start noticing. Bankers. Brokers. Investors. Now, a man named Carl Van Loon wants to meet him, a powerful businessman who doesn't care how Eddie's doing it, as long as it makes money. The scene shifts to a high-class Italian restaurant. Eddie sits across from his girlfriend, who's visibly happy, clearly impressed by how far he's come. He casually orders their meal fluently in Italian, surprising her. She watches him with admiration, completely dazzled by his newfound confidence and charm. For a moment, everything feels perfect. Later, their connection deepens, and they move into an intimate, physical moment. In the next scene, when Eddie and his girlfriend are kissing in the street, he feels like a guy is watching over him now. Someone following. When he reaches home, Eddie even sees him from the window. He is starting to feel alter effect of the pill, something different and confusing. He feels lost. The movie shifts to Eddie getting ready to meet Carl Van Loon. A man tells Eddie he needs to prepare or rehearse before meeting Carl, but Eddie brushes it off confidently, he doesn't need rehearsal. When Carl Van Loon arrives, he seems skeptical at first, but he's impressed by Eddie's sharp stock-picking skills. Carl asks Eddie to go over some files about the market. Using his 100% brainpower, Eddie analyzes the data on the spot, delivering insights. With this, Carl finally decides to meet him tomorrow to give one opportunity to prove himself. Now, feeling unstoppable, Eddie believes that with these connections, he could even become president or a global force. After Carl Van Loon drops him off, Eddie begins to feel the dangerous altered effects of prolonged NZT use. His mind starts to unravel, time becomes fragmented, and reality begins to loop. Suddenly, he finds himself in a bar without remembering how he got there. Moments later, he's in a back alley, expertly fighting off attackers with skills he shouldn't have. Then he's wandering crowded streets, disoriented, everything blurring and repeating like a broken film reel. Eventually, he ends up on a bridge, exhausted, frightened, and confused. The city spins around him, and he realizes he's completely losing control. Finally, he stumbles back to his apartment and sleeps. Eddie wakes up after the night of disorientation, blackouts, and violence. He remembers he's supposed to meet Carl Van Loon that day. He goes to the pill container. But this time, he chooses not to take the NZT before the meeting. He meets Carl Van Loon at a restaurant to discuss a major merger but struggles to focus without the pill. The meeting goes poorly, and Eddie leaves feeling pressured and defeated without the pill. Eddie returns home and checks his diary, tracking NZT users and contacts wanting to know about the effect. Some are seriously ill, while others have died mysteriously. One evening, Eddie decides to call a number he found while tracing people connected to NZT, hoping to get answers about the pill, its origins, or its effects. He dials. And then a phone rings nearby. Eddie freezes. The sound is coming from just a few feet away. He turns, and there he is, the same man who's been tailing him all along, standing across the street, phone in hand, staring directly at him. The realization hits him like a jolt. He's not just being followed. He's being hunted. The man starts moving toward him. Eddie bolts. A chase begins through the crowded city streets, but Eddie gets away. Eddie tracks down a woman who once dated his friend, the one who first gave him NZT. She appears nervous and fragile, clearly affected by the drug's aftermath. When Eddie questions her, she reveals that NZT's withdrawal is lethal. Once you stop taking it, you suffer blackouts, memory loss, and hallucinations that only get worse. She makes it clear that the pill isn't just powerful, it's dangerously addictive, and coming off it can kill you. As Eddie heads home, he's confronted by the angry moneylender, demanding repayment of the $100,000 loan. Eddie tries to calm him, saying the money is in the bank and he'll write a check, but the lender refuses. He wants cash, not paper. While arguing, the lender checks Eddie's pockets and finds an NZT pill. Eddie tries to downplay it, claiming it's just aspirin, but the lender doesn't buy it and takes the pill anyway. They go to the bank together, where Eddie withdraws the full amount and hands it over. After taking the pill, the moneylender lights up, telling Eddie he feels amazing, a clear sign he's just discovered the power of NZT for himself. Eddie, sick from NZT withdrawal, collapses in his girlfriend's office and begs her to get a hidden pill from his apartment. On her way back, she's followed by the same mysterious man. Fearing for her safety, she calls Eddie, who tells her to take the pill. She does, and with her enhanced mind, she escapes and returns safely to Eddie. The next morning, Eddie's girlfriend feels uneasy about everything, especially Eddie's secrecy, and decides to leave. As Eddie watches her go from the window, he spots the moneylender outside, now addicted and demanding more NZT. Eddie gives him a pill but realizes the man is becoming a problem. To protect himself, Eddie hires 2 bodyguards for security. In the next scene, Eddie meets with Carl Van Loon, apologizing for his poor performance at their last meeting, explaining he was sick. Carl accepts the apology and gives him another chance. Eddie is now back in business, making money, working for top firms, sharper and more confident than ever. He even hires a doctor, offering a large sum to help him analyze and refine the NZT formula. But when Eddie returns to his apartment, he realizes someone has broken in. He's no longer safe. In response, Eddie moves into a high-end, secure bunker-like apartment, fully protected, knowing the danger around him is growing. On the street, Eddie runs into the moneylender again, who's now sharper and more demanding. He insists on getting more NZT despite Eddie's warning that it doesn't work that way. The lender just smirks and walks away, making it clear he won't take no for an answer. After this, Eddie, while meeting a big lady associate, finds out that her driver is the same guy who had been following him. He realizes that the lady's husband is also a pill user, and the driver had followed him before because of the stash, as her husband's health is getting worse. Eddie now is seen with Carl Van Loon in an office, where Carl Van Loon talks about how the big project owner is severely ill and the mega deal might be off. Hearing this, Eddie starts to panic. His pills stop working and he gets nervous and paranoid. Suddenly, Eddie gets a package delivered by the moneylender. He opens it and finds the hands of his security guards inside, making him even more paranoid and terrified. Eddie rushes to his apartment to get his pills. When he reaches the apartment, he realizes he has no pills left and the moneylender is already after him, pounding on the bunker door. Panicking, Eddie thinks about ending it all. He goes up to the building rooftop, standing on the edge, ready to jump, but his survival instinct kicks in at the last moment. He remembers there might be one pill left somewhere in the container. Eddie runs back down, frantically searching the entire apartment. Finally, he finds the pill, but before he can take it, the moneylender and his men break in. Eddie gets nervous and accidentally trips, losing the pill on the floor. The thugs grab him. The moneylender comes forward, smirking, and asks Eddie where the rest of the pills are. Eddie says he doesn't have any left. The moneylender then shows him something shocking. Instead of swallowing the pills, he injects NZT directly into his bloodstream. He tells Eddie that it lasts longer that way. The moneylender then orders his men to search every corner of the apartment for the remaining pill. While they're distracted, Eddie manages to find a sharp object nearby and in a desperate move, stabs the moneylender, killing him. The man bleeds out on the floor. Eddie, exhausted and losing control, suddenly thinks of a wild idea. He drinks the blood, knowing it's filled with NZT. Instantly, Eddie's mind clears. The rush returns. He's back. With full power restored, Eddie demolishes the two thugs in an intense fight, taking them down one by one with precision and speed. Now safe, Eddie learns the truth. The man who had been following him was actually working for the associate's wife, the same powerful lady he met earlier. Her husband, who was also a pill user, has now died because of NZT's side effects, but now that her husband is dead, the mission is over and the driver no longer has a purpose. Eddie, realizing his potential and the driver's skills, offers him a deal to work for him instead, doing the same job, tracking down any remaining NZT users and controlling the supply. The man agrees without hesitation. After hiring him, Eddie gets access to more pills and strengthens his power. Now, there's no stopping him. Eddie rises to power and soon, he's a senator of America. Carl Van Loon visits him, trying to intimidate him. He tells Eddie that if he wants a limitless supply of NZT, he must follow his orders, claiming that he's shut down Eddie's manufacturing labs. Eddie calmly refuses. He tells Carl that he will never work for anyone, that he's always 50 steps ahead of everyone, and that Carl should start worrying about himself. Eddie ignores his threats and never meets him again because he already has his own manufacturing labs running in different places. Finally, the movie ends with Eddie and his girlfriend sitting together in a Chinese restaurant. Eddie confidently orders food in fluent Chinese, smiling as his girlfriend looks at him proudly. The camera slowly zooms out, showing Eddie Morra, the man who became truly limitless.